I've asked this question to other librarians. How did there's over a dozen libraries, maybe 2 or 3 dozen. Do you know how many that have collections of Geniza fragments?
Yeah, there are people that have done lists of them. Like in the back of Glickman's book, there's a list. I can't remember. It's probably about 2 dozen. Yeah.
So how did they get to these? So I understand how they got to the Adler collection in New York, because we talked about that. How did they get to all these other places? Do we even know?
In some cases we don't know, but in most cases we do. So there were, various scholars and collectors. So the David Kaufmans, the Adlers. Oxford got a lot of material from the Geniza before Cambridge even.
Really?
They were buying some from Wertheimer, but there were also people like the Reverend Chester, who travelled in Egypt, and he gave manuscripts to us and to Oxford.
And we know those came from the Geniza?
Yeah.
Okay.
We mainly know that because of what's in it, that we know that it fits with other Geniza fragments.
Okay.
There's collections in Geneva and Paris. There's the Mosseri collection, the Mosseri Geniza collection, which is currently here on loan, which was collected by a native of Egypt, so Jack Mosseri, a member of the Jewish community of Egypt. He went down to the synagogue after Schechter, some years after Schechter.
So a lot of these are leftovers that Schechter missed.
And but taking kind of maximalist approach to what the Geniza is. So Mosseri definitely collected from the graveyards and from other.
So tell us about that, the cemetery.
Well, the Jewish cemetery, the Basatine Cemetery.
Yeah.
Schechter went there, it seems, and he dug stuff up out of the graves or the monuments.
What do you mean he dug stuff out of the?
Well, grave? I don't know, but he acquired stuff from the cemetery. He doesn't really go into more detail.
So we talked at the beginning a few hours ago about about how the Geniza process is you would eventually put it in a grave. And you're saying that actually happened?
Well, it does. Yeah, it does appear to have happened. So in the 1970s, they discovered what's now known as the New Geniza.
Okay.
The Egyptian government put a road through the Basatine Cemetery, and they, in the course of doing that, they did some archaeological work, and they found documents.
Okay.
And those are now known as the New Geniza, and they've remained in Egypt. But they're mostly Ottoman era stuff. So the suggestion is that it seems to be in a later practice to actually physically bury them. Although that is questionable. We don't know for sure because there have been recent Geniza finds which in the cemetery, which could be old, but we just don't have enough information.
Is that something you can talk about?
I don't know. I don't know really.
Okay.
I mean, the Egyptian government have taken them into their care, and nobody knows anything about them.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of the stuff didn't come from the Cairo Geniza synagogue, the Ben Ezra synagogue. It came possibly from the cemetery. Yeah,
it's from the cemetery, and also, well, of course, as I said, Schechter, he got stuff from the whole Jewish community, so he was getting stuff that never went anywhere near a Geniza, and some of it,
interesting.
and some of it that never, was in Jewish hands.